focus of my talk when we're talking about authentic relationships, and this is something that we do with a lot of the leaders that we work with and have over the years, is in order to develop relationships and to the networking, and I mean, there's so much wonderful stuff out there. There's social, and there's different ways that blogging and podcasts, and people are really interested in the word brand, which means identity. How do you represent yourself? And there's so much good advice that you can get and that you will get. One of the things that we focus on is the individual. So the only person that can really change behavior about oneself is oneself. So the focus of this 10 minutes is what to think about when you're thinking about your content, what to think about when you consider the core of who you are and developing an authentic relationship with yourself, and then finally the definition of happiness, which is a big promise, isn't it? So Aristotle said, seek understanding, make content clear, and delivery memorable. The key point here about seeking understanding is so many people focus first on what they need and want to say to people. And it's not that you shouldn't have a message, it's not that you shouldn't have an interest that you want to share, but he was adamant about the fact that you have to understand the context. In order to be persuasive or meaningful, you have to understand what people are thinking and where they're coming from. So most of the time when we work on what we want to get across, we're thinking about what we want to say. So there's a simple exercise that captains and kings of industries have been doing over the years, is when they're putting something together, whether it's written or speaking or on some sort of platform, they think about who the audience is and what is of interest to them, because there's nothing more entertaining to an audience than that which is relevant to them. So how can I focus on this? And it's just mental discipline, but to think before even putting a message together. Who is your audience? Even if they're disparate, different people have different needs and interests, but to truly consider them. That's the first thing. Now, making content clear, and this is a hard one, no matter who you are. Because if it's your content, you're in the middle of the scribble. You have all the details. And even famous people, Eric Schmidt, I followed him from Sun Microsystems to Novell to Google. He's an engineer, so communicating wasn't the most important thing because, after all, people who code are the most intelligent people on the planet. But he realized as he went through his career that being able to communicate was very important. And he realized that thesis, or clarity, which means rolling all the content up, and he did buy into Aristotle's 3 main buckets, and then detailing it from thesis down, was the easiest way for people to actually retain. Sheryl Sandberg, Lean In and COO of Facebook, and when she was at Google, she said, isn't this trying to dumb it down by centralizing all your thoughts into 3 key areas? And I said, well, okay, dumbing it down. If people are going to listen, they're going to pay attention and be motivated to action. Is that really dumb? Or is that smart? And when you think, if you become a hobbyist of communication for yourself, part of being hobbyist is being audience and listening. And what do you remember? Like this morning, there was this wonderful talk about a woman in which her passion is technology, the arts, and education. And throughout her talk, she kept tying back to that. And I was so taken with it because I'm walking around remembering what her passion is. All the other details I got in and out of, but I'm walking away with a key core of her passion. So that's clarity. And it takes mental discipline. It's hard to do, but it's fun. And then memorable delivery, whether it's written or whether you're standing up in front using this as a platform, knowing that it's not enough just to communicate. Even Aristotle said that. You have to make it memorable. So I'm not the same. I'm the same person, but if I were sitting with you, my volume would be lower and I'd be a little bit more relaxed, jibber-jabbering with you. But I'm in front of a larger audience, so even the way I write or the way I speak is dedicated to turning the channel up just to be more memorable. So hopefully it will stick. Okay, so that's about content. Now, everyone's talking about being authentic like it's a new thing. Is it? Haven't we been authentic all along? I think what makes it a little scary now is there's so much ability to get the message out or to get information about us out there, whether we want it or not. But in my mind, it's no different than being in a village. If we're in a village, everybody knows everything anyway. So I don't know if authentic is new, and I hope it's not. My focus is be authentic with yourself. So there's all sorts of tests and personality and all sorts of ways that you can figure out what you're best at as you're trying to, if you are going to brand yourself or network or develop relationships with something that you think is meaningful to the world. 3 questions that we go with. The reason there are 3 is because it's easy to remember. 3. So who are you, what do you do, and why does it matter? The reason they're so easy is you can remember them next year or the year after. You don't have to go back to a notebook. But the assignment is, and this is for early in career, or what's really interesting is people that are later in their career, sometimes you're stuck. Sometimes you're not as happy as you thought you would be, or you don't know what to do next, especially if you're really trying to establish something that is your dream that you've always wanted to do. So the who are you is thinking back. You don't have to write tomes about this, but think back to when you were 8 or 9 or 7. It's pre-puberty. It's when we know the difference already between right and wrong. It's a moment, you have to think about it, when you're happy, separated from whoever's taking care of you. You have your own consciousness for the first time in your life. What did you like? Were you popular? Did you get good grades? Were you the teacher's pet? Did you like puzzles? Were you athletic? Were you a fast runner? Were you popular? Were you a think? Who were you when you were 8? Because studies are showing that really we're tall 8-year-olds. So some of our core is back to that point before we start getting too influenced from the outside. And if you think about what you liked to do then, it's really funny what people will come up with. Even if they're unhappy with something and when they realize they were doing, for example, one guy, he was always when he was in school, he went to a Catholic school. Whenever the principal would go into the office, he would get really upset because she didn't invite him in as well. And he so wanted to go because he wanted to solve her problem because he had perspective. And he was in the 2nd grade. Well, he turned out to be a counselor when he thought back, and he's doing exactly what he wanted to do when he was 8 years old. Then the thing is, what do you do? When you're totally blessed, and this isn't about a job, what function thing do you enjoy? And this, you can't decide right now. Keep it light on your mind, like over the next week, and just jot it down to remember what you do, what you like to do. And then there are things that happen over your life that only happen to you that are relevant. Like one girl, when she was babysitting, 2 dads left, and they weren't destroyed, but they were single moms, and it was a real bummer. And she decided at 13 she would never, ever be economically dependent on a guy, right? It influenced her life. It was a moment that happened just to her, not at her, but in her life. And then why does it matter? And this is the core of what makes you tick. We're either rocks, or we have a chance of thinking and a choice that we're here to do something. And whether it's my sister who saves 1 kid a year because she's a school teacher, to Gandhi who saves the planet, wherever you are on the spectrum, you can choose that what you do matters. And what is it? For me, it was when I heard in my study that Aristotle said, find the good people and help them make their truth persuasive. And public speaking was something I really enjoyed teaching people. So it's been my mantra and the company's mantra for 25 years. Everything goes back to that, even as I change and morph. So with content, seek understanding, be clear, be memorable. Do this for a week and see what you come up with. And even if you're stuck in your job because you can't move right now, morph it into something that identifies with what made you happiest when you were a kid. This is a foundation of your brand. This is the foundation of the relationship that you have with yourself. And then the definition of happiness is people are happy and they're happiest when they're doing something of value that is productive. So if it's close to this core that you're able to express to yourself as well as to other people, does it happen all the time, every day? Do I feel valuable and productive all the time, every day? No, but because that's in my head, that I'm happy if I'm doing that, I work hard at it. So it's a foundation of authentic self in relationship with self without being narcissistic. So thank you for your time.
Want to be in the audience next time? Click here for tickets to Inspirefest 2017.